of depends where you're coming from. And I just wanted to put together another quick little live stream here and chat about some things that have been on my mind for a little bit here. And I thought maybe I would poke and prod and see if any of you are feeling the same way about the latest barrage of issues that we're seeing in the mainstream car space, and the fact that a lot of cars are out there right now that we once appreciated for being reliable. It kind of begs the question, why bother? Hey, good morning there, Kevin, or good afternoon. Good afternoon from Lakeland. Hey, great to see you there, Kevin. Today I'm kind of cooped up in this little cocoon, if you will. But I hope the weather's keeping well there, and I hope you're doing well here this morning or this afternoon. For me here, it's just kind of the end of the morning here. It's 11:30. Um, but I think one thing I want to bring to mind, and you'll notice the title of the video is related to um, buy your dream car. Buy your dream car. And why do I say that? Because there was a period of time where I go through, you go through life and you're like, you make a decision on what you want to buy. Do you want to buy something that's sort of fun, frivolous, sporty, maybe exciting to drive, but then you knew there's going to be expensive repairs and the reliability wasn't going to be there. Hello from Ontario. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you there as well. And glad you could stop by for sure. Um, but there was a time when you kind of knew you either had one or the other. You had a fun car, you buy that little sports car that, your parents warned you not to buy, or you kind of thought that it was a pointless car to buy. Or you said, you know what, no, I'm going to be the responsible adult and I'm going to buy a reliable car, right? So our parents often told us, or, our friends or peers told us we should buy something that's reliable, right? Fun. No, not the game. Reliable matters. That's what they always preach to us, that we should drive something reliable. And so you'd go through life and you'd think, okay, I'm going to get something reliable because I want to save money. I want to have simple maintenance. You don't want to have those crazy kind of problems. So you're going to keep it simple. You're going to buy something that's simple. Something Bevan Phillips said hi. Hey, what did you buy? Port City Investments. Well, any guess is what I'm sitting in right now. The reason I'm bringing this conversation up is because we always made those decisions about, should we be responsible or should we just have fun for the sake of responsible decisions, buying a car that maybe isn't so reliable. It's not a Lamborghini, but definitely great guess. Kevin says, this week was my first week back at work since May. It has been raining here every day. We are supposed to switch up our dry season. Well, yeah, I don't know, when's hurricane season. I hope it's going to be an easy one. I think, is this kind of that season? Mark Crispin says, Mark, would you buy a new Nissan Z sports car knowing Nissan's in big trouble? Mark, yes, I would. I would. And the reason I say that, because this is a conversation I'd kind of like to expand on today. We always made decisions on the responsible choice, buy a Honda, Toyota, Nissan, those fun cars, and, or, the reliable cars. And our parents would always say, no, don't buy that old, 20-year-old Porsche, or don't buy that old MG or that old Fiat X19, because those are problematic. Kevin says hurricane season ends November 30th. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, hopefully it's a mild one for sure there, Kevin. Definitely we got our fingers crossed. Just as, like, hopefully it's a mild winter for us here in Canada. We always get blasted with -40 for like 2 weeks. Not as catastrophic, but it's pretty debilitating for sure. Doing a little a survey, mine answering honestly. It would be much easier for the average person to, what is that? I'm sorry, I'm trying to read here. To have both cars if usage-based insurance was the norm. Double payments really add up. Yeah, it does. And I agree. Insurance is a big factor. And you got to think about insurance and fuel costs. But I guess where the conversation really is coming from is, it was pretty obvious and pretty easy to make a decision. I want to drive something reliable, right? You could say, I'm going to buy a Toyota or a Honda and it's going to be a reliable car. I don't want all those problems by buying an old Porsche or an old something. But the funny thing is, there's a bit of a switch up here going on in the industry, in my own personal opinion. You're starting to see brands like Toyota, like Honda, that we once, trusted, that would have our backs for reliability, that you would buy a Toyota and it would be indestructible for 300,000 miles. The problem is that's not really happening anymore. Andromeda says it would be much easier. Yeah, for sure. You know what? I got to tell you, insurance costs are definitely cost prohibitive. I did a video of this recently here, and actually it'll be releasing here coming up within a few days, about, owning luxury cars like a Mercedes Benz versus an everyday car, and even you buying a used luxury car, and some of the benefits and why maybe you should be thinking about that. And the reason is, would you believe, in some cases, some of these luxury cars have cheaper insurance than you can get in some everyday cars. And the reason I say that, our Honda Civic actually has extraordinarily high insurance costs. And we wonder why. Well, why is because it's associated typically with a riskier profile of driver. And so now we're having to pay those prices. View this question. Would you trade, what is this, a 2015 550 91 450 to 2016 750 IM with 75,000, or trade for a Hummer with 56,000? What's better? I would probably stay away from the Hummer. That would be my own personal opinion. The old Hummers, the original Humvees with the H1s were gas guzzlers, and the diesels, and they had those Detroit diesels were a problem. Then the H2s had a 6.2 V8, but they tended to rust. I see a bunch of them running around here with rust, and they get like 5 miles to the gallon. And then the H3 were more of a minivan, to be honest. The new Hummer Electric, potently fast. In the top trim, you get 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. But they're like 10,000 pounds. So they're cool looking. I love the looks of the new Hummer EVs, but they're not a cheap vehicle, and they're going to be extraordinarily expensive. What's it? You're too much about money. Mercedes is male enhancer. Well, some people, yeah, maybe see that, but I'm going to say that, when you drive some of these cars and then you drive, the Mercedes, for actually, to be honest, the same price point, a 2 or 3 year old Mercedes C-Class, the same price as a brand new Camry. Now, the Camry is a lot reliable, but when you compare the two, the ergonomics are night and day. The performance is night and day. And it becomes actually a much more difficult discussion to make that decision to say, you know what, I'm going to buy a Camry or I'm going to buy a Benz, because the Benz now is becoming more mainstream. While there are problems, I'm finding that some of these Mercedes-Benz are actually, or even some of the Beamers, even some of the Audis, are not as, some of them are real problems. And I express that on the channel time and time again. There's some real bad ones, but there's actually some decent ones out there too. And conversely, we're seeing Toyota with problems with their V6s now, with that new V6, that turbo V6. There's been problems with a few different drivetrains. Even the Sienna with their electrified or the hybrid, they're having overheating problems with the batteries. It's not clear cut anymore that Toyota is the most reliable. It's also not that way with Honda. Some people say, well, Subaru's next in line, but I'm not sold there either, because their flat fours have had problems throughout the years. But realistically, I'm going to say that it's not as obvious anymore. And I think that's the conversation here. Is there a dream car you've been thinking about? Is it one of those that maybe isn't that unreliable? Is it somewhat decent to drive and own, and maybe not cost prohibitive? Well, then maybe that's something to look at. Have you ever dreamed about even get into a Benz, a CLA? It's there is just as cheap as buying a Civic. Vika says, Mitsubishi, what's more important to you, health or money? Jai Singh says, health or money? 100% health is the most important thing, I think, to most people. And for me, that's certainly the most important thing. Health is the most important thing above all. If you don't have health, you don't have wealth, right? Money's not important. What is important is enjoying your life. And when we talk about some of these luxury cars or these fun cars, it's not about, like, some people drive them because they want clout. They want to show off. I've never been like that. And I truly believe the enjoyment you get from a car is the enjoyment you get from behind the wheel. That, when you first fire it up and you kind of wind it out on that on ramp, or you look back after a fresh polish and you see how shiny. To me, that's the enjoyment I get from a car. But at the end of the day, those are assets. And health is ultimately the best. That's the only thing we really need to be worrying about first and foremost. So, good morning, fella. Father and son Ferrari rescue. Hey, good to hear from you again. And I know it's been a week or so, but glad to have you back here. Steve says, I have dreamed about a 2001 Toyota Camry. 100%. Everybody's got their takeaway, and everybody's got their their passions and their hobbies and all that. But honestly, it's just one of those things that you've got to buy what you enjoy. You've got to enjoy what you can, and as long as your health is good, then drive what you need to. I wish I could have an R32 Golf. Yeah, they're great cars, 100%. And I can't agree more. Like, sometimes those fun small cars might be your dream car, and that is what I truly believe that you need to think about. Like, honestly, like, here's the thing. We all need to get around. Transportation is all part of how we get from, to work, to school, to play, right? But it goes beyond now of worrying about, just getting to work, turn the key and go. Because the problem is a lot of these cars now are not that simple, and a lot of them are problematic. So the reason I'm saying enjoy your dream car, and this is what this conversation is really all about, whether it's a Camry, 2012, 2013, whether it's a Camry, whether it's an R32, whether it's any of that. We got some folks here kind of scooting around. Whether it's any of that, you've got to remember, a lot of these so-called reliable brands are no longer reliable. So then what's next out of a vehicle? Okay, basic transportation. There's a basic need. But then you're going to have a little fun along the way. Because if reliability went out the window with many of the modern Toyotas or Hondas or any of these vehicles, and a lot of them have, then why not enjoy some of it, right? What do we have? Bobby Zero X. Yes. Happy Friday, pal. Great to have you, and thanks for stopping by. All new cars are problematic, Steve. I agree, Steve. So that's what I'm saying. That is the thing. That's what I'm saying. Everything is kind of junk these days. Everything. So we are living in a throwaway culture, Steve. You betcha. And the game's changed. Notice that it comes to electric. What is that? Comes to electric. The range and brands of cars you should buy changes dramatically. Exactly. CRX, Honda CRX. We had one years ago. Great cars. And so that's the point. Sometimes backdating, going to some of those old fun cars are actually more intriguing. I've often said to myself, I had an old Fiat X19 years ago, and I drove the wheels off that. Now, most would argue that's a big piece of shit, but it was a fun car for me. And quite honestly, I'd put that thing on two wheels any chance I got. Little Italian sports car. And it was at that point I started to learn, kind of the essence of Italian cars and, the reliability issues, the flaky electrics and the kind of clunky mechanicals. But there was a presence and there was a personality. And I never forgot that. So years later, I drove a 308 Ferrari. And I also realized that, wow, this takes it to another level. This is actually a lot more fascinating than even my old 911 SC. And so having these fun car experiences, to me, are starting to represent sort of the trend towards, going forward. Because as we go forward, you either have one camp, throwaway garbage cars, or cars that you actually enjoy, and they're basically toys. You like the hair? Yeah, I don't mind it either. I think it's time for a little trim. It's getting a little funky there, but no, thanks for that. 1985 was a good year for sure. They started to get better. I think of the Corvettes. Remember the old Crossfire in 1983, 84? Ouch. What electric cars are worth buying? Because you focused nailing down the qualities of ICE cars so far. EVs. Yeah, that's a tricky one. I'm not totally sold on any EVs. To me, an EV should represent, because an EV, like when you get in it, there's no passion, there's no soul. Fine, move that behind us. Then the next point is, what does an EV do? Because it becomes a tool, an appliance. Most would agree that an electric car is nothing much more than an appliance. It gets you from A to B, ideally as effectively and quickly as possible. So then to have an EV, it's really just got to serve one purpose: get A to B, cheap, reliable. And so to pay $150,000 for an EV makes zero sense to me. Zero. Absolutely zero. If you can get an EV for 5-10 grand and it gets you to work and back and plug it in and it's good, that's fine. Bang on with the assessment. Yeah, Bobby, the 100%. That's kind of the way I see this. That's an EV can have a place. It can have a place in the market, but it's going to be that utilitarian function. That's it. There's no passion. There's no soul. I've driven so many cars in my time with screaming V8s and high revving, straight sixes and all of these cool cars and engines, but it was always the engine that sort of that resonated. It was always that engine that became the most memorable element of driving. See, driving a 3-cylinder turbo engine in a new Blazer is not memorable. Neither is it in any of those cars that are rocking 3-cylinder engines. They're trash. Luxury cars can be EVs or vice versa, 100%. But here's the thing. You think about a twin turbo V8 in a Mercedes or an EQE Mercedes. Which one is more appealing to you, right? They're both big luxury vehicles. One's electric, one's ICE. I know which one I'd rather have. I've driven them both. I've done reviews on the EQE and EQS I've driven as well. And they're cool, they're gadgety. But once the dust settles, there's not much there exciting to talk about. Jason, damn, those Blazers are kind of sexy looking too. They do look cool, and the Blazer EVs are kind of cool looking. But again, it's an appliance. That's the way I see those. Let's see, EQ series is ugly in my opinion. I agree, man. Oh man, those EQE and EQS are fugly, for lack of a better word. They're just straight up. So when we talk about your next car purchase, when we say, I just want something that's going to do all these things for us, what is that? Transportation. Hopefully it's going to have some safety built into it, some technology. But now I think we're past that tipping point. And there's a lot of great cars out there that are fun to drive, that are reliable, but there's a lot of, so-called reliable brands that aren't reliable anymore. And so now, honestly, I know I'm kind of talking in circles. The point I'm trying to make here is, I'm sitting in this fun car, small little window back here. This thing is a beast. And I'm going to say one thing about it. I bought it because reliability is already out the window. What am I going to go do? Buy a new Honda and watch a CVT transmission spin a loop, or a Toyota and have that new V6 in a Tundra blow apart? I mean, none of these brands, General Motors can't keep an engine, in my opinion, together. Even the mainstream brands, all the mainstream stuff is pretty much trash these days. Every brand, every make and model almost has problems. Recalls are out of this world. So then why are we getting so hung up on, some of the most, that like, I'm just going to hyper focus on buying a Toyota or a Honda or a Mazda when they're fun. Mazda's fun. That brings that element at least. But if reliability is the only selling feature, I think we kind of kissed that goodbye a little while ago. That's why I'm sitting in this car today, because as you'll notice, life's too short to drive boring cars. And I'm going to straight up and say it. At this point in time, driving should be the thing that we do to get to work and to school. But second to that, it should be done safely and reliably, sure. But honestly, every time you drive, you should enjoy doing what you're doing. It's a task. A lot of us spend an hour, 2 hours behind the wheel every single day. shouldn't it be a nice place to sit? Shouldn't it sound good when we hit the on-ramp and we finally got that free stretch? Shouldn't it look good? Shouldn't we take that second, third glance back because we know we bought the right car? See, that's where I'm coming to. That's where the channel started. And clearly, these are some strongly suppressed feelings that I'm just starting to spill out there, because now, let's be frank, reliable brands are gone. They're gone. And they're all going hybrid. They're all going EV, which is fine. Hybrid's fine because you're still getting that rumble and that sensation, the internal combustion engine. The Z car was asked earlier what I think about the Z car. I think it's a great car. I think Nissan tried to do something to reunite it and bring it back. But I think the thing with the Z car, what I've heard and the inside rumors are they're going to bring a manual to their hot model. And on top of it, they're going to transition to hybrid. And then within 6 or 7 years, they're going to be fully electric Z car. At least right now. Things have been changing every 6 months, it seems, with a lot of these brands. But it's something that you've got to be thinking about. You've got to be thinking, is this the end of the road for the fun cars? And I feel like we've sort of hit this peak. You think of cars like, and the reason I say this, you can go backdate, but backdating to the fun cars, you're running out of those cars. They're consumables. They're wearing out. Some of those CRX, the older classic Beamers, straight six, naturally aspirated engines. Some of the Audis that were high revving, RS3 and all of these fun cars, they're dying out. They're going away. Miles are going up. They're getting wrecked. They're disappearing. There's less and less of that. So what do we do to hopefully beat this transition or transformation to 2030, 35? EU7 regulation says that we're going to be giving up the keys to all our fun cars. What are we going to do? In my opinion, start looking at what's fun today. Because if you start shopping in 10 years and you think, okay, I got 10 years, I'm going to ride this one out and I'll see what happens. In 10 years, you won't have the choice. In 10 years, you're going to be driving appliances. And then all that excitement, all those cars are going to be under wraps. My old E60 M5, I'm keeping that. V10, it's annoying, obnoxious, expensive, and I love it. An E60 M5 brings the thrills. Cold dead hands, absolutely, 100%, Ahmed, you betcha, 100%. That's what I'm saying. So the point I'm trying to make here is, it's cool to buy a Honda and Toyota, and I always tell my kids, buy that Toyota, but only these models. Buy that Honda, only these models. I don't want my kid who's in school on a limited budget making $15 an hour going out and buying an $80,000 BMW. At this point, I'll say, I know you have the passion for it. We'll get you into that car, but let's get you through school, earn the income, and then you can get into that car. Because I know that passion is you. And eventually, I'm not suppressing that either. We have a passion. Why not enjoy it? Hot rods. I saw a guy earlier today. I was out ripping around in this thing, and this guy gave me a thumbs up and a wink, and he had an old Trans Am. I think it was around a 78, but you could tell it was hotted engine. It was cool to hear. It just inspired passion. Where's the passion gone for driving, folks? Some of you have it. I know we're serious. Ian, straight up. I know you're Ferrari. You're building that up. And I can't wait to see that. 100%. I want to see that car. Visceral. You name it. 100%. Yes, I'm not leaving BMW. See, that's the thing. There's a lot of crap out there. But it's not just, BMW and their old N54s, which are shit engines. But there's a lot of new, so-called responsible purchases that aren't very good anymore. You're paying $50,000 for a Camry. Where did affordability go? Not to mention reliability. Not to mention 8 years later, you're probably going to put in a set of batteries for $9,000. So that's fine. Hybrid's okay. But if you think you're going to get into a modern day Toyota and live the life of a Toyota owner did 15 years ago, that's changing. That's not going to be the same world that we came from. So live your life, live your best world, live your passions and your dreams, get that car. And like I said, sometimes you need that cheap car to get around. I got a cheap truck. I got an old Ram and I'm good with that. When I want to head to the mall, I'm just going to If the snows is a blizzard and I need to head to the mall and I know it's tight parking, you know what? I'll jump in the old beater. That's okay. I'll jump in the old truck. So it's okay to have those ho-hum cars for utility purposes, just like an electric vehicle. It's a utility purpose. But sometimes I'd rather drive an older utility vehicle to open up the gates to a fun, better, more fresh driving experience for that Saturday night, Sunday night, that Friday, that let's get her done. Let's go have some fun. Let's go to that car show. Let's show off our toy. Life's too short to drive boring cars. Straight up. We've been talking about this for a long time. I've been at this for 10 years. I've come and gone in the channel. The channel's had some highs and lows. The channel said reliability, depreciation, and those are all important attributes. And I've really became hyper-focused because for a while I was so abused by some junky cars that it became almost a response, right? A knee-jerk response to make sure that the next series of cars were going to be not so problematic. Here we are. I'm driving in my dream car. This is my dream car. And I made it happen, and you made it happen. And you guys, all of you, OGs, new Gs, whatever you want to say, all of you viewers have been a big part of this inspiration and have also helped us happen. Look at this. Jai Singh, Leon, Kupra, you betcha. What are you in? Hey, Sam, I'll let you kind of guess that one. Kupra depreciates more, but it is cheaper. Yeah, absolutely. OG Ricky, great to have you guys all come back. This is awesome. We have a great talk today, and I'm just loving this. I'm sitting in this car. I'm overheating in here because it's a small 2-seater car, and I'm starting to sweat. But the sweat's coming from passion, too. And you know what? I test drove a new Tundra the other day, and I love it. It drives nice. It's wonderful. It has some cool tech in it. It's a good-looking truck, I think. And I think it's one of the best-looking vehicles Toyota's made for a while. Some of their vehicles are getting a little bit kind of squared off, and like RAV4s, reliable, but not all that exciting. Although it's one of the best-selling cars right now in the market. But I can't see buying one because of that engine. There's too many problems. Ford Guys videos said, Mark, can you talk about the F-150 in a video? You know what? I can, and I will certainly get to it. And I'm not in a Porsche there, Top Hat. Ahmed, you deserve it, bro. And thanks, Ahmed. I really do appreciate it. I know you've been coming around, for trying to make all my live streams, and I really do appreciate it, Ahmed, for sure. Porsche, this is not a Porsche for sure. I love Porsches. They're amazing cars. I could certainly do that again. This is not a Porsche. I'll give you a hint, it's from Italy. Now, that said, I can definitely talk a bit on the F-150s and the Fords. And a lot of people swear by the 2.7s. They've had some intake valve problems, the old oil pump belt and all of those weird nuances Ford seems to be putting into their engines these days. The 5-liter Coyote seems to be the only one. Even though it's got the belt, it's still kind of the NA V8. That's probably the closest thing I would really look at. Maybe the 3.5. It's rocking a chain. It's got the turbos, direct injection. There are issues there too. But the 5-liter is probably the best bet for me. But I can talk on that one too. Top Hat, yeah. Newbie here. I see some carbon fiber. There is definitely some carbon fiber down in this area here. There's leather up here, and there's some Alcantara on the doors amongst with other leather and contrast stitching and a variety of things. It's a beautiful place to be, and that's why this whole shift we're going to see, and bear with me. I really encourage you to come back to the channel because, first of all, take care of your health, take care of your family, look after yourself, live your dream. But next to that, you know what? Your passion. Live your best life. This is we got one kick at it. And my best life, I must have been Mario Andretti in my previous life or something. I don't know, because I love these cars and I just can't fight the passion. First time enjoying your passion. You betcha, 100%. Thanks, I appreciate that. Mark, That's not a Tesla, for sure. Father and son Ferrari. Not sure if my wife will allow another Ferrari build, but my brother, has two old DeLoreans. Might be fun to fix one up. DeLoreans are cool. I actually had an aunt who years ago lived down east in Ontario, and she had a DeLorean. And the funny thing was, she was like 92 years old or something like that. She was one of my older living aunts, and she had a DeLorean. And they had family that they worked for Ford corporate as well, and they were really car people. And even they grew really old. I mean, in their 80s and 90s, and they still enjoyed the cars. So yeah, DeLoreans are cool, stainless steel. Wouldn't you imagine putting like a hot engine in a DeLorean? To me, that seems like such a sleeper. Why, do something that's more interesting than a kind of Volvo engine or something that they had in that. Um, what's more reliable, BMW M340 or Golf R? At this point, I'm going to say the M340 is likely more reliable. That said, a little bit more complex. And the Golf R has the DCT, which is a little bit more maintenance involved for the transmission, whereas on the BMW, you're using a ZF8 speed, which is going to be bulletproof. The ZF8 speed, the 9 speeds are having troubles with Ram, Dodge, like those guys are struggling over there. But the 8 speeds that you're finding in the Beamers are bulletproof. And so it's a good engine, it's a good transmission. Yeah, there's been some problems. There's two coolant tanks, one's problematic, there's the odd leak. Oil filter housing gaskets. There have been issues, the odd leak here and there. And with miles, you'll see more and more of that. But um, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what it is. What else do we got? Who is watching at work? I'm driving my Spanish car. Sweet. Kidding you on that Ferrari hybrid? 296, Vinny says. 296. What do you guys think of the 296? I believe my Ram 8-speed is German made. Yeah, it would be 100%. It's built in, certainly in Europe anyway. I can't remember if that's somewhere Eastern Europe or if it is German made, but yeah, 100%. That would be the same gearbox. UNMC. I'm what is that? A mobile detailer. Nope, no, I'm not. Stephen Bright says Steve Carell, a car guy. Sweet, you betcha, Steve Carell. He's awesome, man. I love that guy. Damn you, manly man. Cheers. Laugh out loud. Thanks so much, everybody. You know what? It's the passion, and I'm sick and tired. I'm just gonna say it. Like there's these channels that go on and on about unless you drive a 1994 Toyota Celica, everything else is trash. That's hilarious because some people have just never experienced and exposed themselves to life. And I feel like that's somebody's doing themselves a disservice. That's all I'm saying. Vinny, have you ever lived in America? Just for visiting, just for visiting. Bo Reiki says, for sure. And anyway, I really appreciate all these comments. Lots of good engagement here. The big thing I want to say here, everybody, and again, I hope this is a takeaway from a lot of you, and you're probably all getting, like, I've been in this little bit of a slumber, if you will. A little bit of a, we all get like that. Let's face it, the world's a weird place today. But we've all been sort of walking around. I feel, even me, like a little bit of a zombie for the last couple of years. And I feel like, screw it. Like, it's time to live. I got possession of this car. I took delivery of it. It was March, April. They cleaned the streets by June, July. I really, and then I went to Hawaii. I was gone for a couple weeks and then involved in a couple other things, some projects around the house. I haven't had a chance to drive it a whole ton, a few trips here and there, short little journeys. But anybody locally will definitely know. True, bud. You betcha. Jai Singh. But in the UK, the Golf R would be newer. The Golf R, don't kid yourselves. It's a great car. Father and son Ferrari rescue Ferrari, folks. Vinny, have a blessed weekend, man. You're dedicated and grind and clearly shown, and many people should be encouraged by the amount of hustle and discipline of your game, and enjoy all your hard work. I really do appreciate that, Vinny. That does mean a lot, and it is a hustle. It is a grind, but I do it because I love this. And you're probably, for the first time in a bit, because I've been a little sleepy, like all of us, probably a lot of us, maybe not all of us, but I know I have been. But anybody know Will Motivation? Will Motivation. I'm going to throw that out there. Will Motivation. A buddy of mine down east, down in southern U.S. Well, not in southern U.S., down on the East Coast. Great guy. Him and I kind of got engaged and touched, not engaged literally. We chatted. We met because I had a Gallardo. He had a Gallardo years ago. And it was that comment, that chat that we started developing a friendship. And it's just that community of people, of like-minded people that love fun cars is growing, because we see that all this new stuff that we relied on to be reliable and practical is getting tossed out the window because reliability is going away. So what's left? Style, tech, and fun, right? So I'm going to enjoy the fun train. And the reliability train waved bye-bye about 6 years ago. So I'm going to ride the fun train, and I have for years. Let's see. Oh, it's a Ferrari. Sweet. I like the 90s square back and styling, Top Hat says. Gotten son that would whoever believe in him would not. Okay. Honda Civic Type R or Volkswagen Golf R. Choose one only. Well, both really great choices. Big difference is, of course, what you'll find there is the Golf R gives you all-wheel drive and 300 ponies, where the Civic R is, give or take, 300 ponies, front-wheel drive. The Golf, I think, is a little more of a sleeper. German car, a little more maintenance required. Dual clutch, better gearbox, in that it's super fast for performance. But the Golf R, I love it. Or the Civic Type R. One answer, if it was my money, I'm buying the Civic R. Are you in a Nissan Z? No, I'm not. Great guess, Steve. Jai Singh, DSG better in Golf R, only manual in Honda. Right, exactly. Justin, you look like antagonist in John Wick movies. That's me. I try to be. I'm always a little bit of an antagonist. You'll notice my channel, my content. I'm very antagonistic, but to challenge the norms. Not to be a thorn in somebody's ass, but to actually challenge the norms, because I love these cars, man. The Beamers and the Benzes and the Porsches and the Ferraris. I have all these wants and these loves for the cars, but yeah, not everybody sees it that way. People are sleeping, and people are, getting in their Palisades and their Hyundais and Kia minivans. And it just, I ask myself why. I know why, but why? Respect. Awesome. Thanks, you betcha. Vinny, question before I head off. What drives you to be so consistent with your content in different niches? Anything specific besides the success? What drives me to be consistent? One word: passion. I love cars. I always have. I grew up, I see that Lamborghini, that first Countach rolling by, and it's the first time I saw that in person. Forget about it. I was in awe. So it's passion that drives me. How is your hair so thick? Do talk. I don't know. Good genes that way. My parents both had good head of hair, and their parents did. And it just sort of carries. Yeah, I got a lot of hair up here. I think I don't know. It just keeps carrying on. I love it. What is my opinion on the Ford Focus 2011? I would stay away from those, to be honest. Especially if you're talking power shift. Anything manual is fine, if we're being honest. A Focus, getting the Focuses with the manual gearbox, you're fine. Stay away from any of those dry dual clutches, the power shift, and even the autos later on were not amazing. So if you can go with a manual, it's more fun to drive, and it's going to be more reliable. The engines are okay. It's not, it's a simple car, so I don't mind them. But always, again, because I enjoy driving more fun cars, I'm always going to lean to driving something stick if possible. It is a convertible Huracan. This is not a, definitely not convertible. This is a coupe, but it's not a Huracan. But great guess. What do we got here? Brandon says, mine is automatic. Had it for 10 years and no problem. That's good. I'm glad that it's working for sure. Would you prefer a Hyundai over a Honda? Never. Ever. Ever. Vinny, cheers, Mark. Got to go. Burn some rubber. Thanks, Vinny. Thanks for having you stop by. I appreciate that. We'll see you next time. What about Mazda cars? Mazda cars are good because they're fun, and you can still get a stick in a front-wheel drive Mazda 3. And so, yeah, it's yeah, Mazda cars are cool. I'd like to see the Mazda 6 with a manual. That'd be really sweet. With an all-wheel drive and manual, could you imagine? Even better, that 3.3 turbo with a manual all-wheel drive. Forget about it. Mazda, are you listening? That's what I'm talking about. Because then you've essentially got something that's like a BMW. Super Snakes, love it. What is your car? Well, you guys, any guesses? I know there's been some guesses. There's been a couple accurate ones in here. There is, yes, the 296. The 296 one there. Absolutely. Great guess. Great guess. GTB. Jai Singh, you betcha. Coupe. More rigid, a little lighter, quicker. Not that any of that matters. Spiders are sweet. They look great. And they make some good sounds. You hear it into the cabin. I've driven all of those. And there's nothing out there right now at this level that I could tell. That's why I went there. I was looking for a multitude of different cars. You know, I went and looked at the Ferraris, the Porsches, the McLarens, and they're all good in their own way, but a 296 resonated because it's the best sounding right now in the modern Ferraris. It's one of the fastest, certainly rear-wheel drive. And in my opinion, if you're going to drive a Ferrari McLaren, it's got to be rear-wheel drive. Lamborghini, you don't have a choice. I love the Huracans. I love the Aventadors and Mercies. But the Temerario, you know, that's going to take some time to grow on me. Are Stelvios reliable? They're not bad. They're actually not bad. But the thing is, people bust their balls about it, and it's really not that big of a thing. It's more of a lot of times there's been some issues with brakes, weak brakes. There's been issues with electronics crashing. That has been a problem. And there's been a lot of warning light issues, people complaining about electrical problems. Some of it is, not all of it, some of it is related to undercharging your battery. Because a lot of people don't drive their Alphas, and they sit, and then the batteries run low, you start it, and then next thing you know, low voltage means you all of a sudden instigate or initiate a bunch of faults. So that can happen. That's a big part of the issue. Mechanically, the ZF8 speed's good. The engines aren't that bad either. So it's more on the electrical side. Keep your battery charged, and you're not bad. The biggest thing with Alphas and Maseratis is the lack of service centers. We have one in our city, but they're harder to find. Rishant Discontia, thank you very much, for sure. Said hi. Hi there. Great to hear from you, and I'm glad all of you had a chance to stop in and say hi. I just bought a 2014 Mustang 3.7 manual and got it. Okay, that's honestly, anything with a manual is going to be fun to drive, and that's good on you to finally, buy something that you find, affordable but fun to drive. And Mustang's always a win, right? We've got friends of friends who just bought and just took possession of the new GTD Mustang. I haven't seen it yet. I'd love to see it. It's in kind of an original green. It's in that bullet green color. So I can't wait to see that. That's going to be an exciting car. They're spectacular. I saw Doug DeMuro's video on that, and I can't wait to see buddies in person. So we'll see. Aventador, you're in? No, not an Aventador. Love that color. Thanks. Lovely car you're sitting in. Yeah, I honestly, these things are amazing. Do you like the Porsche Macan? I really do. I think the Macan is cool. The Macan, I love them. I think they're great. I would skip the base Macan personally with the Volkswagen derived 2 liter. Go with this next step, go Macan S or Turbo or any of those. They're great. GTS, they're fun. I have a neighbor that's got a GTS. Macans are great. They're small, sporty, they drive like a car, but they have the practicality of an SUV. What's not to love? It's a Porsche as well. So definitely, they feel the depreciation wrath. So that's going to hurt a little bit, but they're a fun car to drive and own. So absolutely, I would certainly do that. How about the Volkswagen Atlas? The V6, yeah, I would probably lean to the V6. I did the video on this one, and the Atlas in this new 2 liter turbo is a joke. It has no right, in my opinion, to be in a full-size SUV like that. The V6, on the other hand, even though it wasn't a whole lot quicker, it's got a broader torque band. It's not working as hard. The revs are lower. Yeah, the V6 is okay. Again, it's Volkswagen. They've got their electrical problems, coolant and oil leak issues and carbon problem. I mean, it's a Volkswagen. A lot of modern cars, German cars, even a lot of the Japanese cars are like that today. So it's not flawless. But yeah, I like the Atlas. I like the size of it. I like the third row. But that 2 liter, no. The V6, absolutely. Let's just see here. Is a Gallardo Spider? Nope. Been there, done that. E90 M5, I've got that. And Porsche Panamera GTS, both great vehicles. But anyway, everybody, I'm just out here to plead with you. Just look, straight up. The vast majority of the car market right now is going through some big changes. In 10 years, we're going to be staring down the barrel of nothing but electric vehicles. What do we have right now? The outgoing set of some of the ICEs, some of those nice ones that we like, but they're all wearing out, going away, and breaking. Then right now we have this transitional phase. Some of the best performing cars, look at the hypercars putting down 700, 800 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower, 15. It's getting ridiculous, but it's exciting. Right now is the time. It's a sweet spot. You're still able to grasp some of the older ones, some of the current ones still, hybrids with, mechanical and electric, and you get performance levels that we've never seen. But we're going to lose this, and we're going to transition to pure EV likely. So this is my plea. Look, straight up. Almost every brand is struggling right now in reliability. So why buy the junk? Why reward bad behavior? Do you have a passion for driving like I do? Well, if you do, definitely. Maybe it's time to just shop around for something that's a little bit more interesting. I'm not here to tell you what that is. Everybody, it's a little bit different. It still needs to meet the criteria. But, when you think about, I can drive a Palisade. Well, what about a sporty SUV? I mean, I'm not here to influence, but I am. I mean, because I truly believe driving a fun car is really what makes your day. You spend most of the time here behind the wheel of this car. Why not enjoy that time? Anyway, with all that said, everybody, yes, father and son, you betcha, 100%, 296. Thanks, and great hearing from you, you guys, and we'll talk to you all real soon. Again, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Go out there. If you're shopping for a car, maybe skip that Hyundai and go look at maybe BMW. Check out the new 2 Series. 240. Sweet ride. Anyway, with all that said, everybody, thanks over and out. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you real soon. Don't forget, hit that subscribe, but most importantly, come back, check out some of my videos. As we transition, you're going to see more and more content of fun driving. We're getting back in the saddle, folks. The hell with these, a Corolla is the most practical. Who wants to drive a Corolla? That's vanilla yogurt. Anyway, that being said, everybody, you all have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.